prayer or meditation. I think we can be. Good afternoon, honorable members. Before we proceed, I would like to remind the delegates of the rules relating to virtual and hybrid meetings and sittings, in particularly parts 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103, which provides as follows. The hybrid sitting constitutes a sitting of the National Council of Provinces. Delegates in the hybrid sitting enjoys the same benefit, the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Council of Provinces. For purposes of the quorum, all delegates that are logged on to the virtual platform shall be considered present. Delegates must please switch on the videos if they want to speak. And they should ensure that the microphones on their gadgets are muted and must always remain muted. All delegates in the chamber must connect to the virtual platform, as well as insert their cards to register on the chamber system. Delegates who are physically in the chamber must use the floor microphones. All delegates may participate in the discussions through the chat room. In addition, I would like to remind delegates that the interpretation facility is active, or should be active, let me rather put it like that, because we sometimes experience problems. Permanent delegates, members of the executive, special delegates, and SALGO representatives on the virtual platform are requested to ensure that the interpretation facility on the gadgets are properly activated to facilitate access to the interpretation services. Permanent delegates, special delegates, SALGA reps, and members of the executive in the chamber should use the interpretation gadgets on their desk to access the facilities. Honorable delegates, if the House is in order, we will now allow an opportunity to delegates to give notices of motion. And I don't want to repeat that we have 20 minutes, notices of motion. I don't want to repeat that we have 20 minutes because we're seeing it every time and then we pass that 20 minutes. So I will start with Pani de Tui. Let me make a short list of those that have now indicated before others came. Malika, Lee, and Sheikh, and brother. What is your surname again? It's fine. Thank you. Now we will start with notices of motion, and we will allow Honorable Dutoy. He will be the first one.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the Freedom Fund Plus, I hereby give notice that during the next ordinary sitting of the House, I will move that the shortage of PPE and first aid kits and fire protection equipment in the public order police deployments is an unfortunate reality. And the shortage of these equipment endangers the lives of the brave men and women that are on the forefront of fighting crime and crime prevention. The shortage of sufficient service vehicles and specialized vehicles hampers the operational effectiveness of these units. I so move.
We are still on motions without notice, or notices of motion. Yes, Honorable Malika.
I give notice on behalf of the African National Congress that in the next sitting, I shall move that the House discuss that the Department of International Relations and Cooperation should have a program that is intended to educate South Africans on what they should do when they visit foreign countries. This will help South Africans in an event they find themselves in the same situation like what happened in Sudan. I so move.
Thank you. Honorable Malika, this is a notice of a motion. We will continue And we will now call Honorable Lee. I just want to log onto the system to see who is from that side.
Thank you, Chair. I rise on behalf of the Economic Freedom Fighters that council in the next sitting debates the issue of incomplete RDP or low cost, which are left incomplete often at foundation phase, yet contractors that are supposed to do the work are paid running away with taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Lee. Honorable Shaik.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby give notice on behalf of the African National Congress that in the next sitting, I shall move that the House discuss the spate of armed robberies and aggravated robberies that affect students around campuses and off campuses on a daily basis. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sheikh. I will now allow for Honorable Mutsamai.
I raise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that council in the next sitting debate the important role played by the community police forum that work hand in hand with the police, an example of which being Tata Zonke Forum, which assists to confiscate firearms and stolen goods used in the murder of the EFF councillor Koketso Mujatau. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutsamai. Honorable Mukausi. Honorable Mukausi.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of the NCOP. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that in its next sitting, the House debates and finds solution on the lack of water infrastructure in the Free State province, particularly in Black townships. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Mukausi. Honorable delegates, we will now continue, and I will now allow an opportunity to delegates who wish to move motions without notice. Honorable Nana, are you raising your hand? No, it's fine. I'm making my list. Honorable Nana. Chief Whip. Let me just make a short list. I will go to the longer list. Honorable, you want to? Are you indicating Ndongeni? I'm making my short list. Okay, I'm trying to make a short list. And as you know, let me rather tell before someone start to fight with me again, I tried to give parties like this so that no one could say I didn't give them. Askies, Nini Nyatsani. Warte Nyatsani. For now, I stop with Boshoff. Karen and Lamini, the two of you, you are not on the list for now. You will come as soon as I finish with the ones that I'm now having on the list. I can't make too much of a long list. I'm making a short list. I'm also going to the platform to see who want to speak there, so that we can try to accommodate in the 20 minutes available, accommodate as many as possible. We will start with you, Honorable Nana.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this council notes with alarm a recommendation by the Committee of Rationalization of Areas under the jurisdiction of the divisions of the High Court, also referred to as Moseneke Commission, chaired by the retired Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke. Notes that the Moseneke Commission has recommended that the seat of the Eastern Cape High Court be moved from Makanda to Bisho at a cost of 1 billion rands. Money that can be spent in upgrading and improving courts in poor state across the country. Note that Makhanda has been the seat of the High Court for the last 158 years, with immense spin-offs to the economy of this small town. Note that the High Court in Makhanda is the third largest employer in the town. Further notes that moving the High Court from Makhanda will lead to a loss of about 5,000 jobs, weakening a local economy which is already in dire straits. And lastly, I call on the Minister of Justice to continue engaging with all stakeholders in Makhanda and eventually reverse or implement or not implement this devastating recommendation. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? If none. There being an objection, the motion will not be proceeded with and will become a notice of a motion. Honorable Ndongeni, you will be the next one.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I here move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the House notes with sadness and concern the death of Mr. Singati Langa, the bodyguard of Professor Phofung of University of Fort Hare. Also note that Mr. Langa is said to have been a crucial witness in the upcoming trial of Professor Phofung's first bodyguard. Further note that the University of Fort Hare is concerned about the lack of basic and fundamental procedural forensic protocols on the crime scene. The university was also concerned because the suspect was only arrested on Tuesday, although he was delivered to the police through a civil arrest on Sunday. Therefore, call on the police to leave no stone unturned in the investigation what has happened in the incidents. Send our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Lang. I so moved, Chair.
Is there any objection to the motion? If none, the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. We will now allow Honorable Molitsane on the platform to put his motion.
Thank you, Chair of the session. I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the council notes that the economic freedom fighters emerged victorious in the by-elections held last week on the 26th of April in Ward 17 and Polro in the Municipality in the Free State. Further note that the EFF secured 56.94% of the votes compared to 39.69% in the 2021 municipal elections. The House should also acknowledge that the ANC previously held this ward in the 2021 local government elections, and it became vacant as a result of a councillor's death. Further acknowledge that this is the first time the ANC lost power in Polro. Also, the House should recognize that this victory is the beginning of a change in the political landscape in the Free State and across the country. The EFF would like, therefore, to thank the people of Polro for voting for the EFF, and we promise to provide services and change their lives and change the lives of our people. I so move. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the motion?
Yes, no objection.
There being an objection, the motion may not be proceeded with and will become a notice of a motion. Honorable Badenos, you will be the next.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this council congratulate those residents of Ward 5 in Zwelishwe in Hermanus that decided that a responsive ward councillor focused on community needs and service delivery is more important than empty promises and cater deployment ward councillors that are so often deployed by the ANC. Notes in the recent by-election in Ward 5 that the DA support more than doubled in this former ANC stronghold in the Oversight municipality, The DA grew from 12% to 29%, while the ANC support plummeted from 56% to 37%. And lastly, congratulate the entire Democratic Alliance team in the Oversight constituency for their continued dedication to take the DA difference to residents of all communities. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? If there being no objection, is there an objection? The objection. There being, and can we have order? There being an objection, the motion may not be proceeded with and will become a notice of a motion. Honorable members, can we just at least try to not be so loud? My ears are not well, so I'm asking you, please. Honorable Dangor, you will be the next.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the House notes that law enforcement teams impounded a truck carrying 1,000 master cases of illicit cigarettes with a tax value of more than 20 million in Bronco Strait. Also note that the illicit cigarettes were imported through the Bait Bridge border post, where they were falsely declared as leaves. Further notes that the driver of the truck fled the scene when approached by law enforcement officers. Therefore, call upon the police to hunt and find the culprit so that they can face the full might of the law. I so move. Thank you, Chairperson.
Any objection to the motion? There being no,
Object. We object.
there being an objection, and I hope the people are listening when someone is objecting to things of crime prevention. There
The
being an
ANC
objection, the motion may
objects
not
to
be proceeded
issues
with
of
and will
service
become a
delivery.
notice of a motion.
The ANC
Honorable-
objects to issues of service
Honorable-
delivery. That is a nonsensical motion that was passed now.
On Alec, can you proceed with your motion? Not you, Bibi. And Chamberlain.
Thanks, Deputy Chair. Honorable Deputy Chair, I rise on behalf of the African National Congress that this August House notes with deep sense of loss the untimely passing away of Mr. Diego Moseneke, a legal practitioner and a businessman. Diego Moseneke was a member of the Congress of South African Students and later a student leader at Wits University and a member of the African National Congress in his own right. His death comes at a time when his energy and services were needed mostly by the African National Congress. We therefore express our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and comrades. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? There be. Who's objecting to a motion of sympathy? Who is that? Who is that? To a motion of sympathy? Who is that is objecting? He got the right to object, but it's very, very insensitive to the family and to everyone. Don't just hear ANC, listen to the content of the motion. No, you don't have, and then state your reason if you have a reason, but that reason will never be acceptable to me. So this will become a motion, a notice of a motion. Then now, can we have Honorable Du Toit?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On behalf of the Freedom Front
Sorry,
Plus.
Honorable Du Toit, just
I just want to benefit, Chair. There was no objection, I think. Let's be clear so that we deal with other issues separately from matters that will indignify our house. I take it as such because the problem I think arose when the EFF motion, correctly, the EFF has won by election in the Free State at Paul Roux. When members
In your province, say so.
in the province of the Free State, yes, in Paul Roux, the EFF has rightly won free and fair election, that by-election. But we must make a distinction when members argue around issues of service delivery thereafter. It's separate matter. Memo Kause make motion, it was not objected to for record. To say issues of infrastructure in Black Townships in the Free State should be
Exactly.
debated. For record, it was not objected.
It was not.
Let's be clear about that thing. It was allowed for a discussion in the future. So it was not objected. So the matter that we're dealing with, I fully agree with you, without even mentioning it. It's a matter that can indignify our house if we're not.
Very
dealing with those
insensitive.
issues. And I take it that there was no objection in that regard. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think we agree with that. Sorry, Honorable Dutoit, you may continue. Because it can't be that someone in the NCOP will say, no, we cannot extend our sympathy to a family who lost a loved one. Honorable Dutoit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I move on behalf of the Freedom Front Plus without notice that the House notes that the veld fire season has started, notes that agricultural sector that includes subsistence farmers, small-scale farmers, and commercial farmers are affected negatively by these fires, notes that food security and employment are affected negatively by these fires, and further notes that the local and district municipalities are urged to support and cooperate with entities like Working on Fire, agricultural unions, and private sector to ensure that the lives and livelihoods are protected by acting in a proactive manner in preventing fires that might start. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
Any objection to the motion? There being no objection, the motion is agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Makause, you will be coming now.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson of the session. Deputy Chair, we rise as the EFF today to note the overwhelming support in the recent by-elections throughout the country where the EFF has actually doubled its support in a lot of wards. That include the Hlabeng, Fatensensu, Ward 17. We know that this township is one of the many townships that has been neglected by the ruling party. We further know that the victory of the EFF comes at a time where the organization is gearing up to take power in the 2024 general elections. Further note that the EFF will demonstrate in this ward of Ward 17, the Hlabeng, that we are indeed ready to govern. We are going to provide the long outstanding services which were supposed to be provided by the ruling party for the people of Ward 17 in the Hlabeng. Amongst others, we are going to move a motion in the Phofung Municipality to provide an uninterrupted electricity supply. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? There being an objection, the
No
motion
objection,
will not be
Deputy
proceeded
Chair.
with and will become a notice of a motion. Honorable Bibi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the House notes that Mr. Jean Solomons was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment in the High Court sitting in Beaufort West for visually assaulting his 2-year-old son, resulting in his murder. Also note that the victim had multiple blunt injuries to the head, trunk, and limbs upon admission to the hospital, and after investigation, it was discovered that the victim was brutally assaulted and sexually violated by his father. Further notes that he was linked to an unresolved gang-related murder that was committed in Atlantis in November 2016. He was linked through forensic evidence and CCTV footage that led to him being convicted on his case as well. Therefore, we commend the police and the NPA for a job well done. I so move, Chairperson.
Is there any objection to the motion? There being no objection, the motion is agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this council notes that Kirsten Neuschafer, a South African from Gqeberha, has become the first woman to win the prestigious Globe Round the World race. Further notes that this race is considered one of the greatest challenges as one sails around the world alone with no assistance and without the use of modern technology to battle high winds and rough seas. Again notes that Kirsten is a role model and an example for every South African of what one can achieve with the necessary skill, willpower, and effort. Request that this House sends her a letter congratulating her on her extraordinary achievement, and furthermore encourage her to share her experiences with all South Africans. And finally, note that she is saluted by all. She is a true South African champion. I so move. Thank you, Honourable Deputy House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable President. Is there any objection to the motion? It doesn't seem like that, so the motion is agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Honourable Dlamini.
I rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that council notes with concern that convicted and awaiting trial prisoners are escaping from the correctional facilities around the country every year. Further note that according to the Department of Correctional Services annual report, in the year of 2021 financial year, a total of 117 inmates escaped, while 34 inmates broke out of the correctional facilities the financial year before. Acknowledge that most of these escapes have gone unreported and swept under the carpet. Further acknowledge that the Department of Correctional Services has shown its incompetence and complete disregard for the safety of South Africans. Recognize that the security measures in our prisons are weak and wardens are aiding and abetting prison escapes. Further recognize that prisons are overcrowded and that there will always be escapes when there is overcrowding. The EFF therefore calls for the removal of the Minister of Justice, who is incompetent and has put the department on an autopilot. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion?
Objection.
There being an objection, the motion may not be proceeded with and will become a notice of a motion. Honorable Malika.
Let's hear which criminal is objecting to that. It's only criminals who can object to such motions.
Honorable Malika, can you?
People of
Council,
the
welcome back. Can you?
I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the House.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, on a point of order.
Honorable Dodovu, can we have order from the side of yourself and Honorable Mokause?
I
Order.
was making a point of order, Honorable Chair.
I don't hear you.
I'm rising on a point of order, and please allow me to do so.
Yes, you may proceed.
Yes. An honorable member has objected to the motion that was put forward, rightly so. And you have understood that and agreed on that. But Honorable Mokausi says that member is a criminal. That member who exercised his right to object to a motion is a criminal. And that is totally unacceptable, is spurious, and therefore, Honorable Chair, it must be dealt with accordingly. Thank you.
The order is
Are
sustained.
you the criminal?
Let's move on with our Honorable Malika. Honorable Malika, you may continue with your motion.
I hereby move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that the House notes that the suspect accused of raping a grade 9 high school learner who was walking to school was denied bail by the Belleville Magistrate Court. Also note that the case of the rape and robbery accused was remanded to 30th of May 2023. Further note that the footage of the incident was handed over to the police for further investigations. Therefore, call on the police and the National Prosecuting Authority to thoroughly investigate and make sure that the perpetrator is brought to book. I so move.
Is there any objection to the motion? There being no objection, the motion is agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Then Honorable Fissa.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this council notes the concern of the Bisisfly and Itikeng communities in the Ditsobotla Local Municipality, where a temporary permit issued in 2016-17 to open the Lichtenburg Waste Tire Depot within a residential area exceeding the regulations of the waste tire regulations. Section 24 of the Constitution providing everyone has the right to an environment that is not detrimental to his or her health or well-being, the NEMA and the National Water Act. Further notes that an area exceeding 1,000 by 100 meter, stacked 2 meter plus in height, in tall grass running down to the banks of the already polluted Harts River and within the seasonal floodlines of the river. This river feeds into Barberspan Ramsar wetland, the Wenzel and the Tahung dams where water is extracted for human consumption. Also notes that in the case of fire scrap, tire piles break down into hazardous compounds, including gases, heavy metals, and oil, with impact the health risk of all those that are living and breathing there. Since the decomposing tires emit harmful chemicals into the atmosphere, soil, and water, which affects the environment. And lastly, that the safety of all people of Bisisfly and Itikeng comes first. The issuing of a temporary permit of such a nature within a residential area with a risk of recurrent fire and flooding deems to be investigated and acted upon. It is a travesty, no oversight from the Northwest Provincial Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism or the Nakamudiri Mulema Disaster Management has been conducted for 7 years to ensure compliance of regulations and or legislation. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
I really allowed you because you were almost the last, but you were way over your time. But I have allowed you.
Thank you.
You
We will
only
now-
allowed her because it's a TA.
Wait, Honorable Makau, you must in any case still withdraw the thing that you said about criminals. So can you please allow us to continue in peace? Honorable Chief Whip.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Because
I move on behalf of the African
Honorable
Nation.
Nsube, just a moment. I just took it there is no objection to that because it's an environmental issue. So I just took it there is no objection. So I'm sorry for that. I didn't follow the procedure, but I just took it like that.
Your favoritism is noted in this house. How you favor other
I
parties.
hope you will attempt in future physically.
Come to the house if you want to shout.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of the Council. I move on behalf of the African National Congress that the Council notes with profound sadness and grief the death of a former Premier of the Free State, Ms. Beatrice Mashov, who passed last month. Further knows that the Premier Mashov was a humble and dedicated servant who served the people of Free State between 2004 and 2009. Further knows that Premier Mashov has left a footprint as a founding member of NEHAU, dedicated professionalness and committed activities up until her last breath. Acknowledges that the death of Comrade Beatrice Mashov has robbed us of a strong and courageous leader who served the people of Free State and South Africa with profound humility, grace, and dedication. This house takes this opportunity to convey its condolences to the family of the Premier Beatrice Mashov and express appreciation for sharing her with the rest of us as South Africa. I so move, Deputy Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Nsube. Is there any objections to that motion? There being no objection, the motion is agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. I take it that there are no further motions without notice because I haven't seen any indications. So we will now proceed to the first and second orders. The first and second orders is the consideration of the report of Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Water, Sanitation and Human Settlements, ATC, reports 29 November 2022, page 79, forensic investigations conducted in Mpumalanga Local Municipalities in terms of section 106 of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act of 2000 and consideration of a report of Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Water Sanitation and Human Settlements, ATC 1 December 2022, page 54, proactive oversight visit to Maluti Phofung Local Municipality. I will now call on the Honorable T.S.C. Dodovo, Chairperson of the Select Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Water Sanitation and Human Settlements, to present the committee report. Honorable Dodovo, you've got 10 minutes for this report.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and members of the EP. I have the honor to present a consolidated statement on the forensic investigations conducted in terms of Section 106 of the Municipal Systems Act in Mpumalanga Local Municipalities. The Section 106 of this legislation requires that if the MEC has reason to believe that a municipality in the province cannot or doesn't fulfill a statutory obligation binding on that municipality or that maladministration, fraud, corruption, and any other serious malpractice has occurred, he has a right to invoke this particular piece of legislation. As part of performing parliamentary oversight on corruption, fraud, and maladministration in local municipalities, a multi-party delegation of our committee had physical engagement session from the 25th and the 26th of October 2022 with the MEC of COCTA, provincial heads of the National Prosecuting Authority, the ROCs, the Special Investigating Unit, the mayors and municipal managers of Pixley Sakakaseme, Governor Becky, Lekwa, Dr. J.S. Moroka, and the Palestine Local Municipality. Our primary oversight objective of having engagement sessions with such was to afford them the opportunity to brief us in terms of their work to ensure accountability on the progress made in respect of Section 106 findings, recommendations on cases of corruption, and the prosecution related to the forensic investigations conducted by in the affected municipalities. Our secondary objective was to accord platforms to the mayor and municipal managers and all and sundry in the affected municipalities to table their municipal action plans to the delegation of the NCOP. During our engagement, Honorable Chair, with all the stakeholders, both internal and external, in the aforementioned municipalities, we have noted that in terms of the evidence provided by the department, the report on Section 106 forensic investigations we were shared with the respective municipalities in order to develop municipal action plan to deal with the findings and recommendations. We have, however, noted with serious concerns that 106 reports have not been tabled to Inkomasi and El Tanzania municipalities, and the department could not finalize investigations in the Bushbuck Ridge Local Municipality. We therefore call upon the department, the Hawks, the SIU, and the NPA to urgently develop a coordinated and joint approach to ensure the finalization of Section 106 investigation in the Bushbuck Local Municipality and take appropriate action in respect of all other municipalities that we have mentioned above. In terms of the reports presented by the NPA, Honorable Chair, it's important to sketch out that with repulsion that the modus operandi of procurement fraud, corruption, and maladministration in most of these municipalities is the same. It's perpetuated by senior managers, by senior politicians who collaborate and connive with service providers to siphon millions from the state coffers, and that is not acceptable. Some of these municipalities have also failed to implement consequence management against those who are responsible in terms of wrongdoing in order to recruit the required funds as such. And as part of our recommendation, Honorable Chair, we are calling for the establishment of the Municipal Disciplinary Board to deal with the aforesaid mentioned. As the Select Committee of COCTA, we reaffirm our commitment to intensify our oversight program in fighting corruption in all these municipalities. And this year, we are going to ensure that the annual performance plan and quarterly programs focus our annual plans and the quarterly programs focus, among others, on Section 106 interventions in those particular municipalities. As you indicated, Honorable Chair, I have the honor also to present a report of our committee in respect of the proactive oversight visit to Maluti, Phofung Local Municipality. The select committee visited this municipality and conducted proactive oversight visit on the 16th of August 2022 to the Maluti, Phofung Local Municipality in the Free State. The objective of this oversight visit was to assess the state of the local municipality in terms of its municipal transformation and organizational development, service delivery, municipal financial viability, as well as public participation. We engage different players, both internally and externally, together with the municipality. And having conducted this proactive oversight visit to Maluti, Phofung Local Municipality, we present the following recommendations for consideration. The joint support must be developed in terms of making sure that the municipality is continued in terms of giving support to that municipality. The joint support should focus, but not limited to, strengthening the capacity of the local municipality in order to perform its functions. The local municipality should fast-track the process of the Smart City Plan and the local economic development strategy to the Council for adoption and implementation. The municipal manager in that municipality should implement the resolutions of the LLF in line with the approved organizational structure of the municipality to ensure that competency requirements and grading system is fast-tracked. The local municipality should develop timeframes and fast-track the process of handing over 300 title deeds in the Kwakwa area to residents. As part of dealing with electricity crisis and NCOP historic debt, Honorable Chair, of 6.6 billion rand, the Free State Department of Culture should fast-track the process of submitting the proposed NCOP partnership agreement model to the National Treasury for consideration. The Free State MEC of Culture should investigate the allegations of corruptions and stealing of municipal properties by the officials and table the report with findings both to the NCOP and the provincial legislature. Lastly, Honorable Chairperson, the MEC should notify the NCOP and the provincial legislature about the invocation of 13915 of the Constitution in the municipality and provide quarterly reports, as well as ensuring that upon the table of such reports, those particular reports are tabled before the NCOP, and the NCOP should ensure that it followed up all the necessary issues as tabled in the reports. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Here I table those particular reports for your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dodovo. Before we proceed to the voting, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote on the first order in terms of Rule 86, if they so wish. Any province that want to make a declaration of vote on the first order? If none, we will continue. Shall now proceed to the voting on the first order. And the question is that the report be adopted. We still remember the first order, the issue of in forensic investigations in Mpumalanga. We shall now proceed to the voting on the first order. And the question is that the report be adopted. So I will now call on provinces to cast their votes. And when called upon, heads of delegations must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape?
In favor, Chairperson.
Thank you. Free State?
In favor, Chair.
Gauteng?
In favor, Chairperson.
KwaZulu-Natal?
KwaZulu-Natal,
Wangama? Limpopo?
Limpopo in favor, Chairperson.
Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga supports, Chairperson.
Northern Cape?
Northern Cape support, Chair.
Thank you. Northwest?
Northwest support, Chair.
Eastern Cape?
Western Cape agrees.
Thank you. The voting is now closed. All provinces have voted in favor. So I therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. We will now call for declarations of votes on the second order. The second order on Maluti Phofung. Before we proceed to voting, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote on the second order in terms of Rule 86, if they so wish. Province is Western Cape.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, Deputy Chair, Maluti Phofung was put under administration in 2018 due to the following reasons: a series of unrest, administrative and service delivery challenges, rising Eskom debt, and no payments to third parties. When the municipalities were starting to show signs of improvement in some areas, the department decided to lift the intervention, stating all is well. The Select Committee went to see for themselves on 16th August of 2022. Several presentations on the day gave a clear picture that the lifting of the interventions was premature. It was clear that Maluti Phofung still continues to face a number of governance challenges that impact on its ability to effectively dispense its constitutional duties. The entire community is suffering huge deprivation as a result of the lack of water and electricity. Factories and businesses are closing on a daily basis with increased job losses. There is still no proper billing system, and they still owes creditors billions, including Eskom. Recently, Honorable Ryder spoke about some reasons why interventions are lifted due to political pressure from different factions. Currently, 400,000 residents in Maluti Phofung continues to suffer while we again use interventions as a political tool. The Western Cape does not agree with the decision to lift the intervention. I thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other declaration? If none, we shall proceed to the voting on the second order. And the question is that the report be adopted. So I will now call upon the provinces to cast their votes. And when called upon, heads of delegations must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape iyavuma.
Free State.
Free State supports.
Gauteng.
Staying in favor.
KwaZulu Natal.
iWazulu Natal ayeseka
Limpopo.
Limpopo le Theka Tokomane.
It is in our whole different language. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga supports Chairperson.
Northern Cape.
Kapa Bokgoni, ya amogela report.
Amogela. Northwest.
Bokoni Bophirima bo a e amogela Motlatsamodulasetulo.
Bokone Bophirima. Western Cape.
Eastern Cape objects.
Thank you. The voting is now closed. 8 provinces have voted in favor. So we therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to the third order. Consideration of report of Select Committee on Land Reform, Environment, Mineral Resources and Energy, ATC 29 November 2022, page 117, oversight visit to Mpumalanga from 31st October to 4th November 2022. And I now call on the Honorable Tebogo Modise, Chairperson of the Select Committee on Land Reform, Environment, Mineral Resources and Energy to present the report. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson, and good afternoon, all my colleagues here. Honorable Chair, allow me to summarize the report because it's 36 pages. So I'll start with the objective of the oversight. The Select Committee on Land Reform, Environment, Mineral and Energy visited Mpumalanga on the 29th October to the 4th November 2022. The background of the objective, the committee has prioritized the oversight over the challenges of poor air qualities in the province responsible for the power generation. Challenging experienced by the local government and in monitoring air quality.
as well as the challenge experienced by the Department of Mineral and Energy to deal with the challenge of aging infrastructure and the need to generate sufficient electricity for the country. Further, the committee has a part of its core oversight focus, waste management in the part of local government readiness to implement climate change mitigation and adaptation. These oversight prioritize the committee form core of the proposed oversight in Mpumalanga province. I'll go straight to the recommendation of the committee, as I said. The delegate noted the concern that the budget allocated for both district and local municipality appear to be insufficient to allow for the appointment of sufficient environmental specialists or perform its task required of its municipal function. The budget constraint also extends to the required equipment and IT resources required to perform specific duties within the air qualities and monitoring of enforcement sphere. One area where these come to fore is a fact that the municipality rely on ESCOM air quality data for some sense of its reporting, while the delegation is not assuming that the data is unreliable. It is problematic that the industry monitoring the compliance is one supplying the evidence for this enforcement. The committee recommended that during its engagement with the relevant parliamentary committee, COGTAT and Treasury, the challenges that the municipality are facing in terms of budgeting allocation for local government competencies such as air quality management and enforcement is highlighted. The report is non-compliant. The reports of non-compliance towards air qualities regulating experience in the district municipality was a concern to the delegation. The municipality is located within the Highveld priority area, and as such, the enforcement air quality regulation of the critical importance. The committee recommended that after the municipality is required to provide the detail on the polluting industry, the National Department is engaged in order to determine how the local sphere of government can assist it to improve enforcement. The delegation requested further details requiring the decommissions of the Komati power plant, detail requested including the public participation process followed during the SIA and the EIA performed, and a fully review of the process followed to implement the repurposing program that will implement it at Komati. There is a need for the greater understanding of the energy generation cost implication of complying with the commitment made towards implementing the Paris Agreement. It is also important to develop the detailed understanding of interaction between the Department of DMRE and DFFE on this topic. Even considering the fact that ESCOM will have applied for oversight towards the wildlife refurbishment of some of the power plant. It will appear of in need to comply with stricter minimum emissions standard was always going to result as a result in either sufficient cost or loss of generation capacity. The jet appeared to have extremely tight, timelessly attached to it. Or ultimately, the DMR did not commit fully in undertaking from the onset, creating priorities, energy challenge that will result in the forced shutdown of old power station within alternative plants in operation. The committee resolved to engage with both departments on this matter. The committee was informed that the maintenance of older power station cannot be justified. The only option with the older power plant is that all allow these to operate within strict emission standard is filing of more modern capture capacity with ESCOM. State it is simple, too expensive to implement. ESCOM remains a challenge within a completing new generation unity and being unable to comply with strict emission standards. It is difficult to compare this situation that had not been predictable with the timers adjustment made to the IRP in order to compensate for the approaching bottleneck. The committee resolved to engage the DMRE and relevant stakeholders on the topic in order to generate a better understanding of the matter. The committee resolved to assist in coordinating meeting between Mpumalanga Local Municipality leadership and the Department of DMRE to improve transparency related to the unauthorization of mining activities within or close resident zone. There is also a need for engagement between the community and municipality in order to explain roles and responsibilities during the authorization. It is further the opinion of the committee that mining license should not be issued in a human impact or a property investigated. And there is a need to engage with the Department of DMRE to determine what check to be balanced in a place to ensure detailed engagement with affected parties. The committee is a concern about the fact that a large proportion of pollution risk is reporting to be caused by illegal mining activities, informal settlement within a river, drainage areas. The committee resolved to engage with the relevant department and the NCOP committee in order to seek more effective solution for the situation. The committee is on the opinion that the greater clarity should be sought regarding the potential pollution risk associated with the activities of manganese metal companies and Delta EMD. On the matter of CMA, it is reported that they will always reported to complaints received about the pollution incident, but do not have the capacity to monitor the entire Crocodile River in order to descend the problem. The committee is concerned about the fact that neither the CMA or the municipality leadership appear to have a detailed knowledge of the past complaints about the risk pollution from the facility and resolved to request the greater details about the matter from the role players. In conclusion, as a result, either the engagement with the local government or the air quality management and enforcement mandate. The committee is concerned that Mbombela municipality stated that the plant maintenance is a challenge. Urban settlements are growing while water waste management treatment facilities are aging and in need of upgrading and maintenance. The committee resolved that during its engagement with the relevant parliamentary committee, COPTA and Treasury, the challenge that the municipality are facing in terms of the budget allocation for local government competencies such as water, waste management, treatment, and water quality monitor and discussed. This is the recommendation made by the committee, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Modise. Thank you very much, Honorable Modise. It is quite an extensive report, but before we proceed to the voting, we shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote in terms of Rule 86 if they so wish. Any province that want to make a declaration? If none, we shall now proceed to the voting on the question. And the question is that the report be adopted. And I shall now call upon the provinces to cast their votes. And when called upon heads of delegations, they must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape here for Masihlalo.
Thank you. Free State.
Free State votes in favor, Chairperson.
Thank you. Gauteng.
Voting in favor, Chairperson.
Thank you. KwaZulu-Natal.
KwaZulu-Natal eseka sihlalo.
Ngiyabonga. Limpopo.
Limpopo support, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga vote in favor, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. Northern Cape.
Northern Cape support, Chair.
Thank you. Northwest. Tebogo.
Northwest supports, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Western Cape.
The Western Cape agrees with the report.
Thank you very much. Can you please close your mic when you are coughing? I'm trying to do it. Voting is now closed. All provinces voted in favor, and I therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Thank you. We are proceeding. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to the fourth order. Consideration of the report on Select Committee on Trade and Industry, Economic Development, Small Business Development, Tourism, Employment and Labor, jointly with Select Committee on Public Service and Administration and Public Works and Infrastructure, ATC, 1st December 2022, page 64, Oversight visit to the Northern Cape from the 16th to the 19th August 2022. I will now call on the Honorable Moimang, Kenny Musimane Hape, Moimang, Select Committee on Trade and Industry, Economic Development, Small Business Development, Tourism, Employment and Labor to present the committee. Honorable Moimang, Chairperson, it's over to you.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, and greetings to you and the leadership of this esteemed house. But a special word of greetings to the esteemed members of this house. Deputy Chair, the the Joint Select Committee on Trade, Economic Development, Employment and Labor, Small Business and Tourism, and Transport, Public Works and Infrastructure and Public Works and Service Administration did embark on an oversight visit to the Northern Cape Province from the 15th to the 19th of August 2022, with a special focus on the two districts, John Taulegaitsewe and Fransbart, to oversee the implementation of the funded programs by the national departments and their entities, paying more attention to the trade and industry, and also infrastructure and transport, and not excluding tourism. Chair, this included an assessment of how the three spheres of government work together in implementing the priorities in terms of job creation, with a view to spur change on the economic structure and foster economic transformation in line with the aspiration of the district development model. Honorable Deputy Chair, the purpose of this visit was to also oversee the implementation of various policies and legislation aimed at enhancing infrastructure development, industrialization, manufacturing, and small business development towards employment creation. This indeed was in line with keeping the implementation of the economic policies such as the National Development Plan, the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, the Reimagined Industrial Strategy Policy Action Plan, the New Growth Path, and the National Infrastructure Development Plan for the advancement of an inclusive economic growth and development. Having identified key areas from the visit, the committee makes the following orientated recommendation. Over the medium term, the national ministers responsible for transport, roads, public enterprise, energy, trade and investment, including small business, and the member of the Executive Council, together with the leadership of both districts identified, need to develop an integrated plan to operationalize the Strategic Integrated Project 5, popularly known as SIPS 5, which is the Saldanha Northern Cape Development Corridor, including the Katu Industrial Park. The plan should be submitted to the Select Committee on Trade, Economic Development, Employment and Labor, Transport, Public Works and Infrastructure before the end of the 2023-2024 financial year. Secondly, over the 2023 medium term, the Ministers for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Trade and Industry and Competition should engage the Minister of Finance to consider establishing the Regional Economic Development Fund to support local government authorities to fund and finance local economic development initiatives and establish capacity and capability to manage local economic development. Furthermore, the Minister of Tourism and Arts and Culture and Environmental Affairs must develop integrated plan to support local government to fund development programs that seeks to spur growth of the creative economy, tourism, and sport. The minister responsible for these sectors must engage the Minister of Finance, consider funding for these development initiatives. Local government authorities need to prioritize and fund tourism development initiatives. Furthermore, the tourism industry remains a critical strategic industry that needs cross-sector support, ranging from road infrastructure and investment, including water and sanitation and energy, and information and technology. Therefore, over the 2023 medium term, the Minister of Tourism must engage these identified ministers responsible to work together with the Minister or the member of the Executive Council responsible for economic development and transport and roads, including John Taulo Gaetsewe and Franz Wart district, to develop a plan that will support tourism development initiatives and submit such a plan to the two committees before the end of the 2023-24 financial year. More so, Deputy Chair, the visit in the Northern Cape emphasized the need for the government to reset the economy, tackle cost of living, create employment opportunities, but also that the policy decision on infrastructure investment has to go big so that you're able to lay a solid foundation for long-term growth, not just growth, but sustainable economic growth and development. It is important, Deputy Chair, that bold initiatives increasing employment must be embarked upon so that certainly it raises the living standards. But more than that, also to support to business must be able to help business to grow and create needed jobs. Hence, tourism remains the important player in terms of the overall economy and employment creation. Our spending must be directional to grow our economy. We need to build provincial economies that are not entirely dependent on public spending, but rather the public spending should be leveraged to crowd in private sector investment. We need also to double our efforts to invest and grow the share of the private sector's activities in our provincial economies so that we are able to ensure that we deepen the growth of the private sector, the role of the private sector in the economic growth, as this would require better economic governance and management at local government with a view to ensure that we also ensure that infrastructure spending is utilized to boost economic activity and investment. Lastly, Deputy Chair, there has to be coordinated efforts throughout the three spheres of government, including the development agencies, working in collaboration with the private sector, such that we are able to accelerate the economic growth and create jobs. I therefore recommend that the esteemed members of the House adopt the report. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Moimang. Before we proceed to the voting, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote in terms of Rule 86 if they so wish. If there is no declarations, we shall proceed to the voting on the question. And the question is that the report be adopted. I shall now call upon the provinces to cast their votes. When called upon heads of delegations, they must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape iyavuma, Deputy Chair.
Nkosi. Free State.
Free State vote in favor, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Gauteng.
Gauteng supports Chair, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. KwaZulu Natal.
iKwaZulu Natal yeseka umbiko sihlalo.
Ngiyabonga. Limpopo.
Limpopo vote in favor.
Thank you very much. Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga vote in favor, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Northern Cape.
Northern Cape vote in favor, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. Northwest.
Northwest, Yamogela Mutasa Modula Stulo.
Thank you. Western Cape. Western Cape agrees. Baie dankie and almal. The voting is now closed. All provinces have voted in favor. and I will therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to the fifth order, consideration of report of Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament on the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa's 2020-2021 annual report dated 2nd December 2022, ATC reports 9 December 2022, page 4. And I will now call on the Honorable Dikeledi Mahlangu from the Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament to present the report. Over to you, Honorable Chairperson of the Standing Committee.
Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, the Chief Whip of the NCOP, Honorable members, Banbeke to Besola South Africa, Lochan. I stand before you to present the Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament reports on this institution's performance in the 2021-22 financial year. The committee considers the report in accordance with Section 4 of the Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislature Act, which mandates the committee to, amongst others, consider Parliament's annual report. At the outset, I wish, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, to congratulate Parliament on receiving yet another unqualified outcome with no material findings on performance information and compliance with laws and regulations. Honorable Deputy Chairperson and honorable members, as you are aware, the sixth Parliament identified two strategic priorities. One, to strengthen oversight, and secondly, to enhance public involvement in Parliament activities. To this end, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, Parliament has committed to improve committee oversight work in relation to the budget, to the budget cycle in particular, through allowing more time in the parliamentary program for oversight activities and encouraging committees to undertake joint oversight activities and to improve the effectiveness on public hearings through greater public participation. Honorable Deputy Chairperson and members, in the financial year 2021-22, Parliament received an appropriated budget amounting to 2.144 billion rands. That is 187.3 million rands less than the previous financial year. The statutory appropriation amount amounted to 471.7 million rands, also reflecting a reduction of 69.3 million rands on the previous year's allocation. This means that in 2021 financial year, the institution's overall budget was 256.7 million rands less than the previous financial year. Honorable members, as per the statement of comprehensive income, Parliament underspent its budget by 223.2 million rands by the end of the 2021-22 financial year. This under expenditure is of concern to the committee. and I think it should to all the members. Honorable members, the parliamentary service provides the support services required by Parliament and its members to effectively fulfill their constitutional functions and obligations. The parliamentary services must provide these key inputs in order for the institution to be effective and efficient and to achieve its stated outcomes. I'm pleased, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, to report that the institution succeeded in meeting and exceeding all targets related to the 12 performance indicators that were measured in 2021-22 financial year. Honorable Chair, the institution continued to measure performance via quarterly client satisfaction survey that allow members to rate the parliamentary administration services along 5 dimensions, most statistically correlated to client satisfaction. Each indicator is measured along the dimension of usefulness, reliability, timelines, ease of access, and for core business services and fairness. Honorable Chair, the final results are an average of the responses received from members. Honorable members are encouraged to participate on these surveys to ensure reliable results as we rely on them to get a feedback in as far as the performance of the institution. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, the administration program consolidates 3 programs that were formerly alone standing, that is strategic leadership and governance, administration, and support services. The most notable development in respect of this program includes that the developments in respect of digital technology continued to fundamentally transform how Parliament operates. It should be noted that although the back-end broadcasting and related ICT infrastructure was damaged during the devastating fire on the 21st of January 2022, the fire had minimal impact on the availability of a critical technical system. The second of Parliament's 3 program, honorable members, provides for support services for the effective functions of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces and their committees. In 2021-22 financial year, Parliament implemented a new programming framework with a shift towards a dedicated constituency, committee, and plenary weeks. The new framework is intended to allow for scheduling of joint committees and joint intersectoral work. The expand public participation, the institution implemented, amongst others, interventions focusing on public education and information, mobilizing public stakeholders, and the use of digital and preferred platform with visual public meetings, e-hearing and e-petitioning. Honorable Deputy Chairperson and honorable members, despite the fire that took place in January 2022, committees continued to adapt to the new technology-based way operating that was first introduced during the COVID-19 lockdown. The fire had minimal impact on the functioning of the committees. Physical oversight visit, public hearings, committee meetings, and certain ad hoc committee meetings of Parliament increased in the period under review compared to the previous year. Parliament's swift adoption of technology during the COVID-19 lockdown has provided the public with a greater access to information and live streaming of proceedings of committees and the houses. Honorable Deputy Chairperson and honorable members, the Audit Committee made several observations which the executive authority was encouraged to attend to. This included the need to improve risk governance processes, in particular, the functioning of the Risk Management Committee and deciding on the best resourcing model for Parliament's governance, risk management, and compliance functions. Furthermore, the number of positions in the internal audit units that have been frozen. This has an impact on the unit's performance and ability to deliver on its mandate. The Joint Standing Committee shares these concerns. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, the Joint Standing Committee have considered the annual report reiterated many of the recommendations it has made in the past, most notably that the concerns raised by the Audit Committee be addressed urgently by the Joint Standing Committee through the quarterly report, progress report. Honorable Chair, amongst other recommendations is that the post of the Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, and the head of Parliamentary Protection Services be filled as a matter of urgency, because the continued lack of leadership and stability in these two areas had an adverse effect on the institution's overall performance. And lastly, Honorable Chairperson, amongst the recommendations is that discussions around how to resolve the permit concern be expedited to ensure that an alternative vehicle for this liability is found. Honorable Chairperson, let me conclude by saying, importantly, especially in light of the Zondo Commission's findings in respect of parliamentary oversight, the executive authority and the Minister of Finance must, as a matter of urgency, find a constructive resolution to Parliament's budgetary challenges. Financial constraints will have a negative impact on Parliament's ability to deliver on its constitutional mandate and to meet the objectives set for the 6th Parliament. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, angithathe lethuba ngithokoze amalunga wezindlu eziyi-2 ababelonga or participator ku-Joint Standing Committee on Financial Management of Parliament. Ngibuya ngithokoze nababereki beParlamente abahelebha nabo namalunga ahloniphekileko. Ngiyathokoza.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mahlangu. Before we proceed to the voting, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declaration or vote in terms of Rule 86, if they so wish. Anyone that want to make a declaration of vote, If none, we shall proceed to the voting on the question. And the question is that the report be adopted. Sorry. I will now call upon the provinces to cast their votes. When called upon, heads of delegations must indicate whether they vote in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape iyavuma sihlalo.
Nkosi ma. Free State,
Free State votes in favor, Chairperson.
thank you. Gauteng,
Gauteng in favor.
KwaZulu-Natal,
iKwaZulu Natal iyaseka sekela.
Ngiyabonga ma. Limpopo,
Limpopo vote in favor.
thank you. Mpumalanga,
Mpumalanga iyavuma, Deputy Chairperson.
Nkosi, Northern Cape,
Northern Cape vote in favor, Deputy Chair.
thank you. Northwest,
Northwest support, Chair.
thank you. Western Cape,
Western Cape agrees.
thank you very much. The voting is now closed. All provinces have voted in favor, and we therefore declare the report adopted in accordance with Section 65 of the Constitution. Let me just, before we conclude the business of the day, thank everyone that participated today. And thank you for your patience with my coughing, but I'm sure I will be much better tomorrow. That concludes the business of the day. And I would like to thank everyone, permanent delegates, the MECs we saw on the platform, and special delegates. Even I saw one of the minister's officers was also on the platform. We want to thank you for availing yourselves, and the House stands adjourned. Thank you very much.